Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Arachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the hopeful elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, it's quite interesting that you have these major superpowers that are now getting together and flexing their military might. You just had a joint parade, with China, Russia, and North Korea. They parading their military strength, their technology, different missile systems. They basically flexing, which made me think about the prophecy in Joel, the 3rd chapter, where it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let them come up. So all this flexing ain't, just for show. All right. They're really placing themselves in position. They moving pieces on a chessboard. They getting their defense in order. All right, they strategizing. Putting money into the strength of their military. All right, forming these relationships. At the BRICS, still growing. And that might be part of why Venezuela is being targeted as well, not just because they want the resources, but Venezuela is like a honorary member of the BRICS. Means down there in South America, sitting on all the oil reserves and got gold deposits. And then Brazil, which is a part of BRICS, is down there, not too far. So you got a lot of that going on. And then you hear from Trump that he wants to rebrand the Pentagon from the Department of Defense to Department of War. All right. And, maybe because he's seeing what's going on, as far as these nations are not afraid of America. They're still making moves to undermine the posture and influence of the West. These tariffs is really it's only hurting Americans. All right. While these other nations are able to, bypass and trade amongst each other. So, Trump is on some, I need y'all to understand that, hey, we're still America. we still are a major powerful entity when it comes to military might, military strength. Understanding that Esau, he lives by that sword. Going back to the blessing. He said that and by the sword shalt thou live. So he wants to put extra emphasis on that sword that he wields, and is significant because America gained its influence and authority in the earth because of its military might, especially after World War II. And when you search it, when you do your research, it was actually known as the Department of War. All right, going back to before the World War II. All right, from 89 or something like that to 1947, it was actually known as the Department of War. So he wants to basically run that title back instead of being known as the Department of Defense. Department of War sounds more assertive. So this is what he's on right now. All right. And it's also funny because he's in full support of that war criminal, BB. All right, Satan Yahoo. All right, so he's when it's all said and done, they want to start to emphasize that hammer. All right, and I'm talking about the hammer of the earth. It tells you about that in Jeremiah. All right, so let me play this news segment, and then we'll get some precepts. It's not going to be long.
Today, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order renaming the Department of Defense to the Department of War. His administration says the name more accurately reflects the mission of the men and women serving in uniform today. The formal renaming would require the approval of Congress, but his order is expected to say the new name can be used in official correspondence and ceremonial context. Congress established the Department of War in 1789. It was renamed the Department of Defense in 1949.
And that's interesting because we all know what happened, with World War II. We know that the British helped position them rats to get into the Holy Land. All right. Then after that, you had the Cold War. So I think it was under Truman, when the change was done. But up until that point, they were known as the Department of War. All right. And, nations back then, they had that attitude like, man, who can make war with this beast? Let's go to Revelation 13. It is Revelation 13:3. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. It's talking about the fall of Rome. It fell, and then for 1,000-year period, you had the Holy Roman Empire. You had the Dark Ages, the medieval times where Jake ruled the Moors. All right, and then out of the bottomless pit. All right, right around the time Jake started to fall, the Lord brought, the Black Plague, the pneumonic, bubonic plague, brought Jake down, and then that's when Esau started to come up. Basically took over Europe. Starting with the Ottoman Empire, and then the rest was history. Then you had the British, the French, the Spanish, and they went and conquered and colonized. And then of course here on the Western Hemisphere, they had those wars, and then the U.S. declares their independence, from out of Great Britain. So this is pretty much Rome 2.0 now. So this is the beast, being healed after it fell, right? It says, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. That dragon representing the first beast, which was the ancient Roman Empire, right? And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And Esau, he has to make that flex known to the world that he is a superpower. We're men of war. All right, and you go back to the 6th chapter. It talks about that red horse. The horse that was red, right, is Revelation 6:3 says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red. All right, and we know that Esau, he came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Then his name was changed to Edom, Adawam, which means red. All right. So he's very significant, to this verse, because not only was, his name mean red, but the blessing was that he was going to live by that sword. right? It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And ever since they've been in power, there hasn't been any peace. It's been nothing but war. It's been nothing but straight wars, man. Name a war besides, okay, you may have had, little wars between those Arab countries, right? Like Iraq and Iran, wars like that. But most of these, the Cold War, the two world wars, and then we're on the brink of World War III. Name one war that Esau wasn't involved in. So clearly, he's definitely taken peace from the earth. All right. Let me do this. All right, this came up. It says, since its independence in 1776, the United States has maintained one of the world's most powerful militaries and has engaged in over 100 armed conflicts. It's no different than Rome. How many conflicts was Rome involved in? Because Rome was a powerful, it was a powerful empire because of its military. They were very strong, but they started to fight too many wars, and their currency started to devalue, just like the dollar. The dollar is devaluing. Too much money being spent. Let me go here. It says this is an index of lists detailing military conflicts involving the United States, organized by time period. Although the United States has formally declared war only 5 times, and these declarations cover a total of 11 separate instances against specific nations, there are currently 178 non-colonial military conflicts included in these lists. Yeah, because he neither keepeth at home, because they like it says in Habakkuk the 2nd chapter, he enlargeth his desire as hell and his as death and can never be satisfied. So even if even if they're not directly involved in some of these conflicts, they actually are involved indirectly by proxy. All right, they'll fund, a lot of these rebels and mercenaries to go into a country. All right, especially if the elites want conflict. If they're trying to get their hands on a resource like down there in Venezuela, this is why they got their eyes on Venezuela right now. Maduro being a new Gaddafi. All right, so they're going to be after him, and he's going to have to rely on help from China. I think China got some settlement down there, so we gonna see, but they'll fund, they'll send weapons, if there's a conflict, they'll use the strategy of atrocity propaganda through news, through media, and then they'll give weapons to their allies to defeat another country, whether it's to destabilize their government, take down their regime. But that's how they indirectly get involved. So it's still the sword being wielded by the beast, primarily Babylon. Okay. Like how Yemen got jacked up. Well, that was because the Americas was funding and giving weapons over there to the Saudis. And the Saudis was straight up devastating Yemen. You know, it says there are currently 178 non-colonial military conflicts included in these lists, 7 of which are ongoing. Between all 6 lists, there are currently 214 military conflicts. And then of course, you the whore that ride the beast. So, you being involved with NATO, being allied with NATO, you automatically got conflict, with Russia. So that whole thing with Ukraine, and you got those Baltic states, which those were originally part of the Soviet Union, prior to the Cold War. All right, and Putin has been on some, and we gotta restore. So slowly but surely, they've been pressing down on these Eastern European countries, and it's been taking a while to get Ukraine, because they've been getting a lot of military backing from NATO through the U.S. But now they're starting to grow weak because they're running out of ammunition, and now Russia can proceed to move forward, and that's why Zelensky been acting like a hoe, and Trump been kind of putting him on the back burner to deal with the Zionists in the Holy Land, to help proceed that particular objective, expand the territory of Israel, the Greater Israel Project. And that's why he's supporting the genocide over there. And worldwide, the nations are they're basically saying that, hey, this is, we're classifying it, what you're doing over there, we're classifying it as an act of genocide. And whether that be brought to justice or not, what could they do? Because the big bad whore is backing it. So in order to really take them down and stop BB, you got to deal with the whore. You got to deal with Babylon. So that's why these nations have to align themselves together and build up their defenses and their offensive. Basically build up your military strength. Hence Joel 3 and 9. Proclaim you this among the Gentiles, prepare war. All right. Wake up your mighty men. Beat your plowshares into spears, and your pruning hooks. It's like you beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak now say that I am strong. So that's why you're seeing all this flexing now. And now Trump is like, oh, y'all flexing? Hey, we need to change back to the Department of War so we can remind the world who we are. All right. But anyway, so you see that, Babylon's been in a number of military conflicts, different wars, since its inception. So, yeah. So, let me go here now. Now this is from ChatGPT. And I just basically put in, what was significant behind Trump wanting to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And it says here, to project strength, that's the motivation. War sounds more assertive than defense. Defense emphasizes readiness, resolve. Reclaim tradition, evoking the historic War Department honors past military triumphs. And that's what I'm saying, the timing of it. After they had this military parade with Kim, Putin, and Xi Jinping. He's probably feeling a certain way, but hey, these nations, they understand that in order to fight this monster, they got to be strong as ever. And would more of making yourself strong by joining forces, and trading weapons among each other. It says cultural branding reinforces a warrior ethos. Hexef sees it as guiding military culture. So we're in that time, man, because we're in a time of war, like it says in Ecclesiastes. Matter of fact, let me reread verse 4, and then we'll get that in Ecclesiastes. It says, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword." All right. "And by that sword shalt thou live." Just describing what was given to him, which was basically power to declare war, because he had the means to do it. Okay. And when Truman had Hiroshima and Nagasaki get bombed, nobody have seen a level of devastation on that of that magnitude, in the world at the time. That was the first time the nations got to see this devil have fire come down from heaven. So they want to bring back that level of intimidation and respect, because Babylon since then has lost respect. Nobody's really afraid of Babylon anymore, especially since now Russia is a primary rival, another superpower that they can get behind to stand against the U.S. along with China. All right, so let me get that in Ecclesiastes. And it says, "To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven." All right, and like the prophecy said, there would be given to him a great sword, and since this devil been in power, there hasn't been any peace. So, what time are we in now? We're definitely in a time of war. All right, and when Yahushua returns and defeat this devil and all these nations and their armies, which you could read that in Revelation 17, Revelation 19, where it says that he's going to come to judge and make war. Once he's done and he puts on all them crowns, there will be no need for war anymore. After the third woe, that's going to be it. You read Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, it basically says that nations will not learn war anymore. And the first thing we're gonna do is get rid of them weapons, and you're gonna go right into servitude. All nations under the true Israel. Okay, not the 48ers. So let me jump down, and it says verse 8, it says, "A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." Yeah, we're definitely in a time of war, especially with all these nations building up. Is why Bibi have been fearful of that uranium program by Persia, the Iranians. And they had that whole conflict going on a few months ago. It's since it kind of died down, but I'm pretty sure it's going to pick back up. But right now they're trying to be strategic and secretive. But it's going to watch. And then it's going to get even more serious. Because, the Lord, he himself is a man of war. Okay? So, eventually, something's going to give, and them small hats is going to, draw America, Babylon, completely into war. Because they already have a presence over there, trying to involve themselves in the conflict with Iran, right? So, like Jeremiah said, Jeremiah 50, and I believe also 49, the least of the flock shall draw them out and make them desolate with them. So it's only a matter of time. But for right now, they want to flex their military might. So let's rename the Pentagon, let's rebrand back to the Department of War to let the nations know that we will not only defend, but we also will get on the offensive too. So yeah, man, we this is that time, and this is that, Trump, man, very stout, very prideful. This is where he's at, man. And they think that they'll never be brought down. So that's pretty much that, It is the executive order that that he's signing. So, hey, that's very significant. So, Lord willing, hey, let's keep keep our eyes out for prophecy. Strengthen our faith in these trying times. It's just finna get rough. All right. But Lord willing, y'all were edified. I'm gonna give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.